Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout as we look ahead to Game Week 5. My name is Joe and today I'm joined by Mark, aka the FPL General. So far, his Game Week 3 wildcard is still holding firm, but how will he use his 2 free transfers in Game Week 5 and who will he captain? Welcome Mark, how are you?
I'm good, Joe. Good to be back for another video. Enjoyed the football over the weekend. Lots of good games, lots of goals, and finally got a green arrow. So
Yeah.
good weekend all round.
Yeah, there's a small red arrow for me, but still, just shy of you. So I've got 65 points this week, so I feel okay. And I was just going to mention that a lot of people free hitted this week, and yourself and me, which sort of just behind the sort of average that I've seen, sort of mid 70s, late 70s points for a lot of those free hitted. So it's a good benchmark to look forward to. So hopefully our free hits, whenever we use them, will be successful too. Before we go on, just a reminder, do press that like button, does help us out. And do remember to subscribe, keep up to date with our latest videos and podcasts. And do check out latest offers at fantasyfootballscout.co.uk. Access to all the membership tools there to help you get access to all the tools and gadgets to climb up your mini leagues. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to look in detail about how Mark got on in Game Week 4, reveal his team so far for Game Week 5. Going to look at the captaincy. Those that are following us will know that Mark is not going with Mo Salah and he's not going Erling Haaland all season. So he's always on the lookout for alternative captains there. He has a Cunha problem in his team as well. Could still be out. He may need to make a midfield transfer there. And also we're going to have a look at defences because there's a possibility he might bench boost. And there was a few other teams as well who might be in a position to bench boost in Game Week 5. It's sort of the first week where a bench boost looks sort of doable. But we're going to look at some defences to see if a lot of our players that are on our benches, usually defenders for a bench boost, could actually get some returns. Okay, let's have a look, see how you got on there. So, 71 points. You wanted to take us through your team and the players you're happy with, the players you're sad with as well.
No, there's always a few we're sad with, isn't there? So first of all, bank to transfer because I wildcarded Game Week 3. I was keen to roll in Game Week 4, and I managed to do that. So starting from the back, Martinez, good to see the best goalkeeper in the world, according to Emery, come back in, and he did have a really good game, some fantastic saves, so it was nice to get the clean sheet there. Anderson got the decision right to start him with a nice 10-pointer, getting the DEFCON and the clean sheet. Cucurella, frustratingly, on the bench, came on. I think he created 2 chances in the second half, but obviously had Porro on my bench, so that was a frustrating one. Munoz and Virgil did the business at the back as well, so almost a clean sweep. Had I started Porro over Cucurella, but I was never going to do that. In midfield, Semenyo, who came in on the wild cards, now taking penalties, which elevates him even further as a good asset. 13-pointer. Nothing from Reinders, Kudus, or Gakpo, but encouraged by the performances of all three. Reinders had a very good chance through 1v1. There was Kudus had an assist ruled out, quite harshly, I thought, for that Romero header. And Cody Gakpo took 6 corners, which I didn't expect. So hopefully a few more routes to points there for him as well. Up front, Captain Gyökeres got a goal out of him. Was hopeful for a little bit more, but never going to complain about a return for a captain. And João Pedro with a 7-pointer from just an assist, which was very, very nice and not much of an assist either, to be fair. Yeah. On the bench, Dubravka, Porro, Chris Wood, who did start but joined the 59th minute club, and Cunha didn't bother selling him, just benched him because the squad was pretty strong. So I think 7.9 million up to 6.5, so big green arrow, and certainly need a few more of those.
Yeah, looking at the defence, actually looks great. Anderson as well. What a brilliant purchase he is. I think he's only in about 3 or 4% of teams, but that's going to just keep shooting up when people realise that what they're getting for 4.5 there. You mentioned about Cucurella being frustrating. I think there was always going to be a lot of rotation on the cards for Palmer especially, and João Pedro. Yeah, I mean that's what he sort of did at Brighton. He does all the other stuff. So it just bumps him up in the bonus points. We saw that time and again with them at Brighton. So I'm not surprised him getting some bonus there. Semenyo, I got Semenyo in as well. So I was very pleased with that. I'm very surprised by the penalty. I don't think he's... I mean, not aware of him taking them before for any of his clubs. So yeah, that was a massive surprise.
I wasn't too confident either seeing him step up because we know how he likes to take shots. It's
Yeah,
like Adriano back in the
yeah,
day for FIFA at Inter,
yeah,
99 shooting. So yeah,
yeah.
good to see some composure from the penalty spot as well from him.
Yeah, definitely. And so I would say, if I was to look at your Game Week 3 wild card, because this is what this is still, and how it's holding up in comparison to perhaps others that might use their wild card. Anson absolutely fine, Cucurella fine, Martinez actually fine. Aston Villa aren't scoring, but they can keep clean sheets. Munoz obviously fine, Virgil van Dijk fine. Reinders, yeah, I think he is really good value, and yeah, that he could have come away with a monster haul in that game. I think I might be getting him in Game Week 6, I think, as a make weight for Haaland. Semenyo, brilliant. Kudos, I just wonder with Kudos whether Xavi might be the better option there. And we'll have a look at him, just because he seems to be a little bit more involved. And Gakpo, I think, is fine for now. And also, we know from last season, he's better at home than away, and he's got a home game next. Gyökeres doing what he should be doing, really. Bare minimum. Yeah, could have got more Pedro there. And yeah, I think it's holding up pretty fine, really. I mean, and it's such a small tweak, really. If I was wildcarding now with this team, I'd be pretty happy. But I would probably not have Kudos in. I would have Simmons.
Yeah, I went into game week 4, not feeling great about the Kudus pick, having, just had him for one game week. And I'm still not convinced he's going to be, a long-term play here. If anyone was to go, if I didn't have a Cunha injury, for example,
Yeah.
Kudus will always be on the chopping block. He does play quite wide. He does have routes to points, of course. I think he took 7 or 8 corners, but there's always going to be other tempting options around that price, or maybe a little bit more expensive. So he's an okay pick. I don't think we know for sure yet how good of a pick he's going to be at
Yeah.
Tottenham under the new manager and stuff like that. But yeah, certainly not a weak link just yet.
No. Okay. Let's have a look at your team for Game Week 5, see how it's stacked up, and then we'll move on to into detail and some of those decisions. So do you want to run through your team, who you would captain if you weren't making any of your transfers? You've got 2 free transfers as well, so it's very likely 1 or 2, but those will be used, and 4.6 million in the bank.
Yeah, so loads of money in the bank, 2 free transfers, and I'd say there's a good chance I don't own my captain yet because I don't feel like I have a standout this week. So I probably will. One of the transfers will be used probably to bring in a captain. Might end up just using one because the squad's in good shape and I would like to roll as often as possible. So currently looking at Martinez versus Sunderland, Munoz, Anderson, and Virgil all have good fixtures at the back as well. Bus team armband is on Semenyo just because he's been so good, and I don't mind that home fixture against Newcastle. Kudus, Cody Gakpo, and Reinders. Reinders does have a tricky fixture. Gyökeres is in the same fixture, so that's not ideal. Joe Pedro against Manchester United, I don't mind that at all. And Chris Wood plays Burnley, which was obviously was always going to bench Wood for Arsenal and then have him back for the next 2 fixtures. And I don't see myself really keeping him much longer than that. No. I think his minutes could be an issue under Postecoglou, etc. And then on the bench currently Dubravka, Pedro Porro, Cucurella, and Cunha. So there's an unplanned bench boost possibility here. I've kind of just been taking when I wildcard in Game Week 3, I didn't have a set game week in mind for bench boost. I was looking at Game Week 8 possibly, maybe a little bit later as well, just with Dubravka in mind. So for example, if I just sell Cunha this week, get a captain, then I probably will just bench boost and get it out of the way. The only slight concern would be it's coming right after a Champions League week where there could be a better rotation and minutes and stuff, but overall, I kind of like the idea of just getting it out of the way when everybody's fit. I don't have too many fires, and then I can just go back to focusing on the starting 11 again. So we'll see how midweek plays out. I know there's EFL Cup games as well. Just 1 or 2 injuries would just scupper the plans there. So it's probably going to be a Friday decision on the bench boost.
Yeah, I mean, often with the bench boost, it's just I always thought as well. It's just a week when I look at a team like you're looking at your team now and you're looking at the bench and going, that Cucurella could get an assist, clean sheet. Porro could get an assist and a clean sheet. Dubravka could get a clean sheet or certainly save points. Whoever you get in for Cunha would probably go into your first 11. And so perhaps you might have Kudos on the bench or Reinders.
Yeah, Kudus or Reinders, yeah. And I mean, that's absolutely fine for a bench boost.
That's probably the best bench boost anyone will have for a while, I think. So, for example, last week, so the current week, I had Stev and Dubravka. That's quite common. Lots of people had. So until that 95th minute penalty from Salah, I was actually looking at because because I also had Rodon on my bench, I was probably looking at around about 20 points on a bench boost, and I'd have been more than happy with that. And that was just that sort of Salah penalty at the end that would have scuppered that. I mean, luckily I didn't get 20 points on my bench because of that penalty was actually put in. But yeah, that's how close we can get. And so I didn't actually think about that week, but I am starting to think, and we're going to talk about that in a bit, some of the promoted sides, how the likes of Dubravka, Rodon, Stev, some of these players could actually be, and Sunderland defence as well, they could actually be pretty valuable on a bench boost. Good weeks or bad, it's those defensive contribution points that are really helping. Let's have a look at captaincy. So as everyone who watches and listens, regular watchers and listeners will know, you're going without Haaland and Salah. So I put up on the screen the stats so far for some of the contenders. I've got Haaland and Salah in here just as to benchmark, and you've got some of the other players. I've also got the captaincy matrix where we are with that, and this shows that on paper, Salah against Everton is the best captain, and Haaland has Arsenal, so that sort of counts him out. But Salah's form is woeful. It's very poor open play XG. He's getting, he's a 90-minute man who takes penalties for a team that is probably a little bit fitter than some of their opponents. And so, you play in the odds, chances are he will get a penalty in the 95th minute. But nevertheless, it's probably unsustainable. So if I were you, I wouldn't be worried about Salah. And also in Game Week 5, I wouldn't be worried about Haaland because it's probably the only tough game he's got against Arsenal. So, yeah, you're up for grabs in Game Week 5.
Yeah, it's Game Week 5 is a tricky one for me. As I said, I'm not confident in anyone I currently own, so it's probably trying to target a captain to bring them in, but not just as a captain for this week. A good player to have for the foreseeable future anyway. And it's been a roller coaster as a non-Salah owner. I know that the Salah owners have been on the same roller coaster.
Yeah,
I've been so close every week to posting a little graphic marked save from Salah today, and he makes me delete it every single time. Was it 3 attacking returns after the 90th minute so far? So yeah, I've been so close, and my rank would be so much better if Salah just got subbed off in the 89th minute every week. But that's why you have Salah. He gets the minutes. He's like Bruno, and you get points. Doesn't matter when you get the points as long as you get them. So I'm not bitter about it whatsoever. I'm kind of encouraged by the poor output in terms of numbers so far, and I think a lot of people are probably going to sell him soon.
Oh yeah,
maybe flip Erling Haaland or in Game Week 6. I'll be fearing Haaland a lot more the way he's playing soon when his ownership shoots up. But I'm looking at this list, and I had Cole Palmer early in the season, captained him first couple of game weeks, or at least the first game week, and then he missed Game Week 2, of course. So I'm very keen to get him back ASAP. And he looked good in his cameo off the bench. I think he had 4 or 5 shots. Should have scored twice, really good chance, and put it straight to the goalkeeper. So Cunha to Palmer, despite the fixture being Manchester United, is probably what I'll end up doing because I want to get him back in place anyway, long term. And we look at that captaincy matrix there. I look at Game Week 6, Cole Palmer at home to Brighton. Quite fancy that for captaincy as well. So that is where my eye goes to on this list, first of all.
Yeah, so just for the benefit of those especially listening to the podcast version, on that captaincy matrix, Salah, on paper, the best against Everton. And I think he will do better because it's a home game and it's a derby, so I think he would do better than an away game with a tough Burnley defence. Game Week 6, as Mark said, Palmer home to Brighton, that is a good fixture. Haaland home to Burnley, that's the best one. And then Chris Wood at Sunderland, maybe, but we perhaps recalibrate how we think about the promoted sides. Game Week 7, Haaland away to Brentford, always a good shout. Saka, if he's back, it could be Gyökeres home to West Ham, so Gyökeres could be a good one for you there. And Bruno Fernandes, who you don't currently own, he is at home to Sunderland, that could be good. Game Week 8 is Haaland again at home to Everton, and Salah at home to Manchester United. It will be popular if Salah is still in people's teams as well. So Game Week 8 is probably your next one where you have to worry, or you have to think a bit more. But maybe we'll look there. So looking at Game Week, I'm just going to quickly look at Game Week 8 for Arsenal. So Game Week 8 for Arsenal. Way to Fulham. It's not great. It's not.
No, I don't like that for captaincy. Fulham are pretty solid.
Yeah.
Just back to this game week. The other thing that I I will be keeping a close eye on is Alexander Isak minutes midweek in
Yeah.
Europe, and
Hmm.
then potential team news before deadline on
Yeah.
Saturday because
Yeah.
it's the first kickoff. If a lot of people, I do think Salah's the best captain this week at home to Everton,
Mm.
and I would love to captain Isak against Everton if I knew he was in the starting
Yeah.
11,
Yeah.
and that's the only reason I'll buy him if there's news beforehand.
Yeah.
I won't gamble otherwise because
No.
we know there's still fitness issues there. So part of my thinking as well, I've got two free transfers. If I want Palmer soon, I'm
Mm.
probably going to want Isak soon as well. Saka might be in the picture in the near future. So another another reason I'd like to get the bench boost out of the way now is I could play the bench boost game week 5, maybe just use one free transfer, and then game week 6 I've got two frees,
Mm.
and I could start to take the money off the bench, Kukurea for example, and start getting the big guys back in.
Yeah.
So that's again just use the bench boost while I've got my money spread around, as much as it's going to be spread around this season,
Mm.
and then start to streamline it back towards the starting 11. So I think there's a good chance I will bench boost if there's no other issues to crop up this week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fellow Pora owner, and on my wildcard, when I wildcard, he will go because I can get better points, I think, from Van der Ven, and he's cheaper. And Romero as well, also cheaper.
Yeah, I think the issue now is Spurs had 13
Mm.
corners. Kudus took 6, Xavi Simons took 6, and Porro took 1.
Yeah.
So that's not what we want to see. So
No.
Xavi Simons is a big threat.
Oh yeah, I mean he's not an urgent sell because Porro is still getting those points. He's still getting the odd DEFCON round. He's still getting clean sheets. It's just the others for that money. You can spread that money elsewhere. Looking at the table I've got of options, Haaland is top. You're not getting him in. His minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty is an eye popping every 54 minutes. He has had 8 shots on target, 5 goals, and he's created a couple of chances. And of course, he had 5 goals for his country just before he scored a brace in the Manchester derby. So that's what you're up against. And I think from game week 6, you're really going to be up against it because then you're going to be the people like me who've got Salah. We're just going to switch to Haaland. I'm not having Salah against Crystal Palace after what I saw in the Community Shield. And I don't think I can live without Haaland much longer.
No, I don't. Honestly, I don't think anybody should, apart from me. The way he's been playing this season,
Mm.
he's back to the Haaland that we
Yeah,
we got.
yeah,
Early days Premier League. He's on
yeah,
fire. Everything's
yeah.
going through him. Should have had a hat trick. I don't know how he missed that other chance. Just
But
whatever you're doing this season, if you're playing a normal game, make sure you have plans to get Haaland game week 6 if you don't already have him.
But he's against Arsenal game week 5. So both of us can breathe a sigh of relief and think, well, okay, Haaland might get something, but he's probably not going to haul. It's probably the most non-hauly match he's got. Next name on the list is Cole Palmer. He's only actually had one start. So it's a very small sample. Minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty every 140 minutes. Big goal for they just created one chance, a couple of shots on target. As he says, one shot, one start, sort of half a game. So he's only on 10 FPL points. But yeah, from your point of view for the captaincy, I think that's a no-brainer. I think you have to go for Palmer because he's a really good captain for game week 6 as well for you.
Yeah, he's the high ceiling guy that I don't really have at the moment in my front seven.
Yeah.
I'm never going to captain a Kudus. As good as Semenyo's been, don't love him as
Yeah.
a captain, especially against Newcastle.
Yeah.
So yeah, just probably keep it simple and get Cole Palmer back in.
The only problem is because he still has an issue and his minutes are being managed, and we saw that in game week 4 against Brentford. He's got a Champions League game midweek. I would imagine he would start, but I don't know whether he's going to be 90 minutes against Manchester United, or he might not even start. They do have an embarrassment of riches, and Chelsea are on better form than Manchester United. So that's what would put me personally off. But I think,
Yeah, I just want to see 60, 70 midweek if he does start.
Yeah.
I really do want to see 90. So
yeah, definitely. Next name is Chris Wood, who's in your team, and he could be a good captaincy shout for you away to his former club, Burnley. Minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty every 172 minutes, created a couple of chances, 4 shots on target. He's in a fifth of teams as well. I think, this should do okay. It's hard to tell with Ange and how it's changing at Nottingham Forest. Murillo was the DEFCON beast we thought he would be before the season. He got racked up 10 and he was subbed off after 20 minutes. So that was, or 25 minutes or so. So that's pretty amazing. So you would hope he would be back because they're going to rely on him. But at the same time, I don't know it's just it's a bit of an unknown, isn't it, with Chris Wood at the moment?
Yeah, and I think Andrew said himself it's going to be a a gradual transition to his style of play rather than from day one. So we've seen a fairly sensible defensive line from Nottingham Forest at the weekend, which I'm sure will gradually take a foot or two forward with each passing game week. On Chris Woods, I feel like he could become a 70-minute player now more than an 85-minute player. And I think there could even be games where he doesn't start. He doesn't strike me as a Postecoglou type
Yeah.
striker. He's, Kyogo was great at Celtic. He's not what Ange will look for, I don't think. And he's got a lot of other good forward options there. A couple of very exciting signings that they made.
Mm.
I think the guy from Rennes, I think he came from, looks really good. So I'm on Chris Woods. I will probably keep him for the next two. Now, the only reason I won't keep him is if I find out Isak starting, because then I think I would just do Wood to Isak and be done with it.
Yeah.
Because then I'd have Isak, Gyökeres, Joe Pedro, which sounds great long term. So yeah, Wood is okay for now. I don't think I will captain him this week. But yeah, hopefully you can get a few more points out of him before he makes way.
Yeah. Next game is Semenyo. It's a tough game against Newcastle, but nevertheless, he is the form player at the moment. He's got a point 0.5. He's in both our teams for good reason. He's in, and we're not alone. He's in 4 out of 10 teams, 2 out of 5 teams. That's a lot. 36 FPL points, 5 shots on target, on pens, created 7 chances, so many routes to points, 2 assists, 3 goals. That's 5 attacking returns. So 5 attacking returns, same as Haaland, but for half the money. Yeah, I mean, him is a good captaincy shout any week, except when it's against a really good defence against Newcastle. So that would count him out for me.
Yeah, I think the penalties now add him into the captaincy conversation on a weekly basis.
Yep.
He's just so good. Bournemouth are really good, and it kind of not that it reminds me of it, but I remember Cole Palmer's first season a couple of years back. When he was 5.5 or whatever he was, and he was incredibly good. And I remember I had him most of the season, but I look back on the season and I captained him twice. And I feel like a player like Semenyo, you could end up getting to the end of the season and he could score a stupid amount of points, and you might very rarely captain him. So I really want to consider him, strongly at the moment
Yep.
when he is playing the way he's playing,
Yep.
and now that he has penalties, we think. So he's in the conversation, but yeah, I don't like it against Newcastle. That's the only issue.
No, I mean, looking at Bournemouth's fixtures going forwards, yeah, away to Leeds could be okay. Home to Fulham, game week 7 in the shout. Away to Crystal Palace, game week 8. Home to Nottingham Forest and Ange Nottingham Forest, game week 9. So it's definitely weeks where you would consider him. Next name is Watkins. On paper, he's got the best fixture, but now I'm going to be doing a team reveal with Tom Freeman, who's an Aston Villa fan, who's the deputy editor of Fantasy Football Scott tomorrow, and that's going to be the main bulk of my questions. What is up with his team? Why can't they score? Does Emery want to go? Does any of them want to play? 4 games without a goal is just it's ludicrous for a team like Aston Villa. There's something definitely wrong with that. If that was happening to like a newly promoted, I don't know, say Preston North End went up and didn't invest and didn't score for 4 matches, you would think, okay. But Aston Villa not scoring for that amount of matches, Watkins. So something's wrong there. He's in my team, and it might not be for long. Created 4 chances, just 2 shots on target. He's had more shots though. He's had quite a lot of shots, but he's not getting that XG that we want. Yeah, Watkins. It's annoying, but I think he has to be out of the captaincy conversation.
Yeah, it's baffling what's happening there. It really is, because I've watched Phil a couple of times, and yes, there's been a lack of creativity and stuff like that, but there's been plenty of chances. It's just not happening for them. My takeaway has been Rodgers and Watkins just not really on the same wavelength as they have been previously. Just nothing
Yeah.
clicking for them, little things going wrong, and you can see them both getting frustrated. It will change soon, I'm sure, and it's usually good fixtures that change that. But there's absolutely no way you can captain an Aston Villa player at the moment. So I think Tielemans is injured now as well, and I don't think that's good news.
No.
He's in the engine room, so that's another blow for them.
This player, Bruno Fernandes, I would consider if I were you, not just because you're a Manchester United fan, but because he's created 14 chances, a couple of shots on target, 90-minute man, and on penalties. And we've seen how effective that was previous game week. He's got Chelsea at home, so it's a home game. then away to Brentford, and then at home to Sunderland. So next three are good. Away to Liverpool, you never know because it's a tougher game for both of them because more of a sort of derby-ish clash. And then they've got at home to Brighton, game week 9. So another strong game. So he is long term a good option, and he's a penalty guy and captain.
Yeah, Bruno has hurt me this season. I had him the first 2 weeks. I wildcarded him out for Cunha, who got injured as captain, and I missed the Bruno
Yeah.
points from the penalty spot. But that will not stop me from going back to Bruno. If I have any concerns about Cole Palmer's minutes going into the weekend, I might look to Manchester United as a plan B,
Yeah.
and not necessarily Bruno because Brian Mbeumo was really good against Manchester City. Terrible performance from the team, but Brian Mbeumo looked really good. Donnarumma made a fantastic
Yeah.
save. He's taken as many, if not more, set pieces than Bruno. So I think, yeah, Brendan Mbeumo, I've overlooked him this season. I'm sure many other people have as well. So I think it's quite a close call between Bruno and Mbeumo. Bruno gets you the pens and the DEFCON from time to time, but I feel like Mbeumo's going to get more attack and returns
Yeah.
overall. So yeah, well, I'll monitor the minutes of Palmer, and if not, if I don't like the vibe going into the weekend on him, even though it is a fixture against Chelsea, like you say, I like the two fixtures after that one for Bruno and Brennan Mbeumo. So I'll be trying to figure out which of those two to go for, possibly come Friday night.
Okay, I've just got two more names in this list, and then we're going to move on to some midfield replacements. So a lot of these names will double up. So some of these names that are in the captaincy shout are also midfielders to consider for game week 5. But the next name is Matoma on the list for. I think he's a genuine captaincy shout. It's at home to Spurs. I know it's Thomas Frank Spurs, but it's a home game. Matoma has looked good. Him and Minter are looking absolutely great. They're looking like the best FPL assets at the moment. And certainly the most reliable because they don't really have strong enough backup, either of them, I don't think. He's created 6 chances, 2 shots on target. He's got a goal and an assist already. So going under the radar, I think, but Matoma, I think, is a possible shout here. Away to Chelsea. Brighton do perform better against those types of teams. Wolves, away to Wolves as well. A home to Newcastle. Brighton are quite good against Newcastle, by the way, historically. And then away to Manchester United. I think there are games for Matoma. I think you can own him, and I think you can genuinely captain him this week.
Yeah, I quite like the Brighton guys as differentials. I was very impressed with Minty in
Yeah, he's
particular at the
good.
weekend. His ball from Matoma's header. Matoma, you couldn't miss. The cross was that good, he couldn't miss. But I've always liked Matoma as well. Just not consistent enough for me FPL wise, but I think they're absolutely viable picks because they're cheap and there's some okay fixtures in there. I think right now when it is Tottenham and Chelsea in the next two, I'd probably rather the Wolves entry point in game week 7.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are probably going to wildcard around game week 6, game week 7. So
Oh,
that's when you do look at Minty and Matoma. And I know for a fact your wildcard will have at least one of those guys.
I'm really thinking about it, yeah. I will be wildcarding probably around then. And yeah, it will be very hard to resist either of them. A final name on the list is Mohamed Salah. So I've sorted this by minutes per expected goal involvement non-penalty. Put it into context, Haaland every 54 minutes, Palmer every 140 minutes, Bruno Fernandes every 285 minutes, Mohamed Salah every 450 minutes, well behind Matoma. But Salah has created 5 chances. He's had 3 shots on target. He does have 2 goals and an assist because he's a 90-minute man and 25 FPL points. So he's actually been doing okay. It's just you would expect more, and I think long-term is a problem. But obviously, he's at home to Everton this week. That has to be on paper a very good captaincy shout, especially when Haaland's playing Arsenal.
Yeah, people need to, not forget that Salah's fixtures, opening 3 were really difficult. So you weren't expecting huge things there anyway. And he has been finding a way to get points as he always does, despite, not playing as well as he has done in the past. So I had him as the best captaincy candidate last week. I have him as the best captaincy candidate this week. And then is when you start to think about it because it's Palace away, it's Chelsea away, Manchester United at home. And I still think having Salah and Haaland is too much. It's more viable maybe now than it was at the start of the season because we do have a lot of cheap enablers and you can rely on 4 or 5 defenders and Dewsbury Halls and these kind of players. But I'm still in the boat of you should have one or the other for overall squad structure.
Yeah.
And I've watched more football this start of this season than I have in the last couple of years, and it's very simple. Haaland or Salah. It's got to be Haaland the way he's playing.
Yeah.
You want the guy who is getting chances from 3, 4 yards out.
Yeah.
Salah plays on the wing. I know that's a very simplistic way of saying it, but Haaland is the focal point, central. Salah has to do a lot more to score than Erling Haaland does. So I would be captain Salah this week if you have him, and I'd be flipping to Erling Haaland game week 6.
Yeah. Okay, let's have a look at midfield replacements. So some of these names we've already mentioned as well. But the top one in terms of minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty, is a player that you mentioned in the last one, wasn't on the list for the captaincy, but perhaps should have been, because it's Brian Mbomo, your favourite. Created 9 chances, had 5 shots on target. He was indeed the best Manchester United player from an attacking point of view in the Manchester derby. His ownership's only in 16% of teams, just that one goal as well. That's why, because the masses haven't seen any returns from him yet. But yeah, both of us like what you see there. I would be, if I were you, very keen to get him in, him or Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah, as you know, I love Brennan Bumo. The problem is I love Cunha more, and that's why I went Cunha in game week 3. But I've completely warmed to Brennan Bumo now as possibly being the best United attacking asset. The way I'm playing FPL this season, previously I would always have gone for Bruno Fernandes, penalties, DEFCON, boring, boring, boring. But to me, Bumo's more exciting. If I'm going to sit down and watch a game, I know he's going to be in and around it. He's going to be in the box. He's going to be getting big chances. Whereas a lot of time you watch Bruno and he's taking the ball from the goalkeeper and he's taking set pieces from deep. So I know he does get in the box himself, of course, but I feel like Mbeumo's more of an FPL pick because he just plays further forward.
Yeah.
So if I go there, I'll probably back myself on that and get punished by Bruno again, no doubt.
Yeah. Minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty. Palmer's next. We've already mentioned him. A strong contender for the captaincy as well. Next name is Grealish, though. Yes, he has got Liverpool next, and he does blank in game week 8. That goes against him. But he's created a mammoth 10 chances with 4 assists already. Player of the month last month. On target. A couple of shots on target, too. He's in a 5th of teams. He's just a steady Eddie player. He's one of the, not the same player as Semenyo, but one of the reasons I got Semenyo in, he was just a player I didn't have to worry about. I don't have to worry about that slot. Semenyo's just going to play and shoot a lot. Grealish is going to play, apart from game week 8, and he's going to assist a lot and create chances. So he's a glue player.
He's just a great pick. Quite simple as that. Everton didn't score at the weekend, but Grealish looked good from the highlights I just watched this morning. And Grealish just feels like a glue pick as well. You can plug him in regardless of fixtures. And I don't think it will just be assists either. He's looking good in terms of goal threat as well. He's basically got a free role. He said I was reading about this week, he said he feels as good as he has done for a long time. I think we've got our Grealish back, which is exciting for FPL.
Next name on the list is someone you may or may not consider, and I certainly am on a game week 7 wildcard, because I would like to perhaps bench boost in game week 8 when Burnley have a good fixture against Leeds at home in game week 8. But Burnley also have a good fixture in game week 5, so maybe you would consider him. They're at home they've got Nottingham Forest. So it's Jadon Anthony, who's been the best attacking player for Burnley. Minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty, every 167 minutes, which is more than other players that are in many, many more teams. He's in 1% of teams. Created 3 chances, 3 shots on target. He's got 2 goals and assists, 3 attacking returns, 4 games, 5.5. Plays for Burnley. If you're if you're bench boosting game week 5 and 8, I think he is absolute ideal player.
There was, I'm trying to think who it was. There was a player last season who tried to convince me to buy every single game week, and I can't remember who. It might have been 8 Wolves possibly, and it was just no. It'll come back to me, but this season you're trying to sell me Anthony every week, and it's never going to happen. So you need to just
missing out. You've missed out on 3 returns.
Totally get the logic. Totally get the logic for a bench boost though, and that could be a bench boost this week for Burnley, game week 8. I think there's one later, maybe 13 as well. I was looking at Foster the striker as well at 5 million for similar reasons. But Anthony looks good at 5.5. So but only for bench boost in mind. I think we've got too many good cheap picks elsewhere than a Burnley attacker.
Okay, some people are going to go for him. and they're going to enjoy his goals and assists. Enzo Fernandez, he's a player I am considering actually. If I, as a make weight for Haaland in game week 6, Reinders is a good option. I think Enzo Fernandez is as well. He's in the mix for penalties. I'm not saying he's going to take penalties over Palmer, but he's certainly in the mix as we know. He's created 6 chances, 2 shots on target. He's 6.6, so he's a considerable saving on Palmer. Minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty every 122 minutes. And he's got 2 goals and 2 assists so far, 4 attacking returns for 6.6. And in game week 6, he plays Brighton at home. So I think he is quite a good option.
Yeah, I agree. I think Enzo's viable this season more than he's ever been, but I still find it really hard to put him in the top 3 Chelsea because defensively they've got good options. Tosin, Cucurella, Chalobah, Sanchez, they're all viable. Cole Palmer, Joe Pedro, even Caicedo. Caicedo for $1 million less for almost guaranteed defcons. He's an absolute machine. You're starting on 4 points most weeks with Caicedo. So Enzo, as much as I like him as a player, I find it hard to ever see him in my FPL team, just because there's too many other options at his own team.
Eze at Arsenal, a tough fixture next week, so you won't go for him. But from game week 7 onwards, their fixtures are really good. So he's very one to consider. Madueke as well, knew him. Has looked good. Didn't come away with FPL points so much in the last game, but looked certainly the best player. I think he got a standing ovation when he got subbed off. But yeah, Eze as well. So Madueke didn't make this because he didn't get the XGI, the expected goal involvement. But Eze does. Just created 1 chance, 2 couple of shots on target, and he's got 1 assist and minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty every 240 minutes. Expect that to improve. Yeah, he's definitely one to consider. Perhaps not this week, but from game week 7 onwards.
Absolutely. I'm just thinking about my own team as well. If I bring Palmer in this week and if I end up on Isak in the near future, even without Salah and Haaland, it might be hard to get Saka as well.
Yeah.
So I quite like the 7.5 million price tag for Eze as a Saka alternative. And I think he has the potential to match him points wise anyway, even without penalties. And it could be Gyökeres on penalties over Saka anyway. So maybe Saka is not essential. I do think I prefer Palmer and Isak over Saka when they're all available. But again, of course, fixtures will come into that. On Madueke, I watched the Arsenal game and that's the best I've ever seen him play. Really, really good. Give the left back a torrid time. And unlucky not to come away with some attacking returns. He is that kind of player though. He can put in a 10 out of 10 performance and get a 2-pointer, which can be frustrating. But yeah, Madueke is there's loads of options there at Arsenal. And like you say, once this Manchester City game's out of the way, I will be going shopping there. I'd like to get Gabriel in at some point as well.
Bruno Fernandes is next. We've already spoken about him. You obviously prefer Brian and Bomo, but a very strong candidate to bring in. And I put Simmons in here because I've been just noticed his just involvement, just for pure FPL points in terms of assist potential. He's only created 1 chance, only just joined, but he has got an assist so far. So it's promising. Very promising there. So he's sort of one to monitor, I think, for Simmons, but we've spoken about him already. I just want to move on to your potential for bench boosting. So for you've got, Porro, Cucurella as well. But for many other people who have been bench boosting, you've got Dubravka. So we're looking at the Burnley defence, really. But you could be looking at some of the others. Sunderland even against Aston Villa, perhaps Leeds against Wolves. In fact, Leeds against Wolves is a good one. So let's just see. I just wanted to see where they sort of stack up so far on my table of best and worst defences. So I've saw this is all matches so far. So the 4 matches that are played, expected goals conceded. In terms of expected goals conceded, Newcastle are the best. Only expected to have conceded 2. They in fact have conceded 3. Arsenal just conceded the 1, expected goals conceded 2.4. So these are the standout. Arsenal and Newcastle are the absolute standout defences so far. Liverpool, not too shabby. Expected goals conceded 3.3. They've in fact conceded 4, so they're still looking good. And they have had tough fixtures. Bournemouth are very strong as well. Expected goals conceded 3.48. They have conceded 5, so they've been marginally unlucky according to the stats here. Chelsea strong as well. That helps for your Cucurella move. Crystal Palace, they're quite strong. Expected goals conceded at 4. and Sunderland as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the seventh best is Sunderland. Expected goals conceded 4.5. So a Sunderland defender, maybe on my wild card, I might consider one. They are definitely ones to consider. Tottenham are next. That's proving the Frank change there has certainly helped their defence. Expected goals conceded 4.67. Goals conceded actually just one so far. So that is promising. Leeds as well, just there as well. This is brilliant. This is not like three promoted sides coming up and suddenly they're the whipping boys. This is not the case at all. These are very good defences, and they are perhaps not the defences we should be targeting. So we're going to have to recalibrate, I think, there. So, and also we can play them. I'm going to play Rodon this week against Wolves. I think it's a great fixture. So expected goals conceded 5, if actual goals conceded 6. And then you've got Manchester City. So they're way down beneath two promoted sides in terms of defence. Expected goals conceded 5 and they've conceded 4. I'm not going to read out everyone because we haven't got time here. But the worst defence, now this is interesting though, with Burnley, expected goals conceded 9.37. They've in fact conceded 7. So we could be seeing this with Burnley. Burnley are displaying a sort of Ipswichy type stats here, as in they could be one to target. So this could be good for Chris Wood. It could be good. They were good against Liverpool. Was that because Liverpool's attack is not so good against this type of team? Perhaps other teams will be. Aston Villa are low down here. Expected goals conceded 7.38, so they're second worst. Wolves are the third worst. Nottingham Forest themselves are the fourth worst. That's only going to get worse under Ange. And Manchester United, so this would help with a Palmer pick perhaps for captaincy. So yeah, some interesting changes I think over the last 4 weeks in terms of defensive data.
Yeah, and I'm looking at this and I'm thinking I quite like this for my bench boost as well because I've only got one Burnley asset in Dubravka, whereas a lot of people will bench boost with 2 at some point, maybe even 3. You know, talking about Anthony and those guys as well. So it kind of just reaffirms that I do want to bench boost this week, with you know a stronger bench boost than most will have. Interested to see Newcastle there at the top with the best defence. So we probably need to give more love to players like Dan Burn. Fabian Schär is 5.5, but he's got the goal threat there as well. And Pope's been doing okay for people as well. Arsenal second. I want Gabriel in as soon as the fixtures improve. I know Calafiori Timber have been outscoring him so far, but long term, Gabriel's the one I want. Still the main target from set pieces. And yeah, Burnley, Sunderland's probably the most interesting one there. So Sunderland's maybe another team that you could look at for bench boost in a certain game week when they've got a good fixture. They've got quite a few. I think they've got more than one 4 million option at the back as well. So they're one team I actually haven't managed to watch yet this season, Sunderland. Not in a rush to go and do it, of course, but I need to try and catch them to have a look at some of these cheap defenders.
They're the promoted side, but they're probably the most transformed. So they're not really a promoted side. It's just they're like a new Premier League side. So it's hard to compare them because it's a whole new 11 really. Newcastle, very interesting, especially for Gameweek 7. Wildcarders and also looking there because looking to make transfers because they play Nottingham Forest. Then they got Brighton, then they got Fulham. But in the next 2, even though Newcastle defence is the best, they do have Bournemouth, which is tricky. And then they've got Arsenal, which is tricky. So it's Game Week 7, I'd be looking at Newcastle, but very strongly. And that's why I'm looking at wildcard leagues. I've got no Newcastle, no Arsenal. And they're the 2 teams that really, fixtures really improve from Game Week 7 onwards there. But yeah, I just thought this was interesting to see where we are and to look at the fixture ticker in perhaps a different way. And I'll certainly be making some alterations, I think, for this fixture ticker. Bump Sunderland up a bit, for example. But Bournemouth, maybe they deserve to be a bit lower down. Jury's a bit out on that one.
Yeah, I do think though Senesi's looking like a fantastic pick this season. You know, he's bossing the DEFCON. I've liked the guy Truefair at left back as well, for a bit of attacking potential. But yeah, if you're not on a Bournemouth defender, it's got to be Senesi.
Okay, so whatever you decide to do, whoever you decide to get into captain, whatever midfielder you get in, and whether you bench boost or not, which sounds like you're going to bench boost, and it sounds like Palmer in there. Good luck with that. Good luck all those watching and listening, whatever you decide to do in Game Week 5. Let's hope it's another high-scoring one. Game Week 4 was a very high-scoring game, 63 points on the average. That's pretty high. So good luck with that We'll be back next week. I'll be back from tomorrow. Tom Freeman's team reveal. Also, other videos and content. Plenty more this week to help you prepare for the game week. Take care. See you soon.
Cheers all.